So hi again, and thank you for joining us. Yeah, it's a pleasure having you in our frame process program. So yeah, can you tell us a little bit about the offer, about the piece, about yeah?
Yeah, it's called Palin. It's a piano piece, about 10 minutes long, by the English composer John Tavner.
Mm-hmm.
And I first heard Tavner's music a long time ago when I was a student in New York City. And I remember this moment very clearly. I was in my tiny cell in the dormitory, and the lights were out already. I was trying to fall asleep, and I was listening to the radio. I'm a big fan of the radio, still am. Mm-hmm. And I think it was the program New Sounds. But I switched it on halfway through the program, so I didn't know what I was listening to. I just remember being kind of pulled into a trance and being transported by the sounds, by the music. And when the piece ended, the moderator, the host of the show, said this is something by John Tavner, and that's the first time I heard of his name. And in the last few years, I've been working regularly with a video artist, Berlin-based video artist named Lillevan. And we have a full-scale Abendfüllende, the full-length program, audio-visual program planned. But I was still looking for the right opening, because I had the body of the program, but I knew that I needed something for the beginning of the evening. And I think I looked for like a year. Okay. And I came very close a few times. At a few points, I really thought, okay, this is the prelude. But it never really felt right until I found this piece. And then I knew this is the pairing. Okay. This is the pairing. So this is going to open the evening.
It is a really beautiful piece. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
So the name Palin comes from the word palindrome. So, a word where you can cut it down the middle and it would be a perfect symmetry. Mm-hmm. Or even a phrase like, able was I ere I saw Elba, supposedly spoken by Napoleon. That sentence is a perfect palindrome. And the piece really is structured like a palindrome. It's not a perfect symmetry because there is a coda at the end, which is not reflected in the beginning. But he uses really the entire range of the keyboard from the lowest to the highest note, and also the softest sounds to the most thunderous sounds that you can get out of the piano. And at the lowest part of the piece, so where he actually writes like a thunder, and it's really in the very bottom register of the piano, that's the halfway point. Mm-hmm. And then the piece repeats itself backwards, like you would play a tape backwards. Mm-hmm. And if you're just listening to it casually, of course, you can't tell that that's what's happening.
Yeah, I was trying now. I was trying a few times. I was listening to it just before our conversation, and I didn't really... I read before, but when you listen to it, you didn't, yeah.
It's like an open secret. Yeah. You know about it, but you're not supposed to really be conscious of it while you're listening to it. Uh-huh. You're supposed to just enjoy it. What you are supposed, maybe what you could feel is the passage of a 24-hour period on this island where he composed this piece. Mm. Because he was trying to
compose the piece there on this island.
He wrote it on I can't remember what it's called. It's the island where John the Apostle wrote the Book of Revelations.
Okay. I don't know.
not a Bible scholar. Yeah, so it had special significance for Taubner, who was a very, very religious man. He became religious later in life. And he wanted to write a piece that reflects his experience of spending one day on this island and how the light changes from morning to night. And there are a lot of references to nature in the piece. You definitely hear some kind of thunderstorm, as I referred to earlier, a lot of bird song, a lot of water references, a lot of references to the sea, obviously. Yeah, it's a very evocative piece if you have a little bit of imagination.
So what do you plan exactly to do with the video? How do you plan to combine it and the video to reflect the piece? Or I understand from the offer that it's not supposed to be
illustrative or literal. It shouldn't look like a slideshow. It's going to be abstract. I still have to work out the details, of course, with the video artist, because he is an independent artist. I'm not going to give him a table of my wishes. It is so this conversation is exactly what's going to take place in the next 4 weeks as we work.
So usually you do it in a dialogue. You just
I have my feelings about the piece based on my firsthand experience of producing these sounds and interpreting the score. And he has his instincts. He has his imagination, visual imagination about what he's hearing. And so we would try to come toward each other. My idea is, as I said, quite abstract, and it would be, it would have a lot of black and white. So a lot of really, really strong blinding light combined with shadows. And I'm curious to hear what Lillevan has to say about that.
It's not the first time you two are collaborating, but so, right?
No, we met on a project in 2010, so 10 years. And we've also, but that was a bigger project, like an electronic opera with 4 singers and a fully staged production. But we have also worked one-on-one, for example, on Ligeti etudes, which I used to think was a really great idea for an audiovisual project, because there's just so much in it and I see so much when I'm playing it. But that can actually be a disadvantage. I think that can work against an audiovisual collaboration. If there's already so much in the music, it can just become a sensory overload. But that was a learning experience for me.
Do you feel this video is also influencing the interpretation of the music? Do you take from the video also to your?
That's a very good question. Ideally, in a full collaboration, yeah, it should go both ways. I think it's important to start the dialogue early on in the process, because if I've already spent 200 hours by myself practicing the pieces, then I already have such an intense relationship with the pieces that it's really hard to be convinced by
Okay.
Yeah. So this is a chance to do exactly that we can also, that I also listen to his feelings about the piece.
When was it when you found the piece, you said? When you understood it?
I got the score like last week.
Ah, okay. So,
I found the piece this year, like
okay.
3 months ago.
Okay. So it will be the first time you play it on stage?
Yeah.
Okay. Hmm. So you think what the next month is the starting of, it's actually the starting of the dialogue between you and the video artist on this work and trying to figure. Okay.
Yeah, of course I've already started practicing it because otherwise he won't have anything to
Yeah.
and, yeah, it took a while for the score to arrive, so it's still quite new for me.
Okay.
But I've gotten to the halfway point.
Okay. And it's interesting. We said we will do it like 1 week. I'll do a conversation with you, and then the next week, a conversation with him. Right? Okay. That would be my first time doing this kind of. But it's interesting. I like it because.
We're actually the first duo in this project, aren't we?
Yeah, but there's actually another duo in this batch. So yeah, not musical, but yeah, this also video. Yeah, this art designer video, and yeah, I still didn't talk to her, but yeah, there are two, one Iranian girl living in Canada, and I think Israeli girl living in Berlin, and they are collaborating somehow. So,
yeah. And how have the last 2 months gone for you?
Like doing this conversation, if you mean, or was super interesting, you know, because yeah, many artists, like yeah, talking to many artists experiencing this very unusual times. At the beginning, it was much more, you know, about, you know, the situation and also about the process and music and art, but more, I think, the, you know, situation itself and experiencing this odd, weird stop. And then it was more, you know, more back to normal. And I think surprisingly, most of the artists took it, although, you know, many things canceled, like not many, but everything canceled, but took it quite relatively, surprisingly good. I think artists are used to, you know, adapt and also being many of them a lot of the time alone at home and creating. So yeah.
Yeah, computer nerds.
Excuse me?
Lonely artists and computer nerds.
Exactly.
That is the easiest.
So yeah, it was interesting. It was still is. I mean, yeah.
Like you've eased into a routine, or are you already back to a halfway normal life?
No, not. I have two small kids, so they're at home. And I'm also a director. I'm a theater director, and I had the project coming up just a few months ago. We just came up for the first time. Premiere in Israel, and we were supposed to start touring, and everything stopped. So, but yeah, doing these conversations, you know, that's like something's going on, and yeah.
I have to ask you: is it Aharon or Aharon or
Whatever you choose. I mean, I say usually it's just Aaron,
Aaron?
casual Aaron, but you can say Aharon. Or, yeah, it's like Aaron. Yeah, exactly.
No, it's important because I also have an unusual name.
Yeah, SooJin, you say?
Yeah, SooJin, Anjou.
SooJin, okay.
Say the J like in English, but
and you're originally from China?
No, South Korea.
South Korea. Okay, we have a really good friend in Berlin that is from South Korea. Just moved to Zurich, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. I've actually never been to China, even
Excuse
though it's
me?
so. I've actually never been to China, even though it's so close to my birth country.
Okay, I was there once, yeah. But not in South Korea. Actually, I would love to go.
Okay, fine.
So you grew up in South Korea, and then you studied in New York.
Well, actually, my family moved to the U.S. when I was 10, so
okay.
didn't actually spend that much time in Korea.
Okay.
But my parents are now back in Korea, so I do go visit.
They are back in Korea now.
Actually, that's the big thing that got canceled for me this spring. I was going to visit my family in Korea in March, and in February, things looked really bleak there. So I canceled it quite early on.
Okay.
And then by the time I would have flown to Korea, the situation was really flipped.
Uh-huh.
So things here, then there.
Yeah. Were you supposed to play a lot or tour a lot during this time?
No, actually, in that sense, I'm really lucky because I was kind of burnt out from the past 2 years. Like last year, I was commuting almost weekly to Freiburg, which is 800 kilometers away for a teaching position, for 2 teaching positions.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a year and I had 40 concerts last year. And so everything ended. I mean, this commuting ended in February. So I had already planned solidly to take a break.
Ah, wow. Okay.
Month. And then just then the whole crisis came about. And so in that sense, I'm actually extremely lucky because I was planning to rest anyway. It's just a pity that I couldn't see my parents.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this would have been personal time for me anyway.
And how is it going for you during this time? Do you practice a lot, play a lot at home?
In the beginning, I just turned into a vegetable.
Really?
Vegetable.
Wow.
And that was the plan, so I stuck to my plan.
Okay.
I caught up with the 21st century. I ordered Netflix for the first time. I had a TV for the first time in a few years. I binge watched Breaking Bad.
Wow.
I really binge watched. Yeah, so I caught up with the show that ended 6 or 7 years ago. That was the first week or two, and of course I was really, really stressed like everybody else about just the immediate peril at our doorsteps, because in the beginning especially there were so many conflicting pieces of information, like disinfect all your groceries. No, it's really the droplets you have to worry about, and uncertainty, this lack of really clear.
It was super hard, yeah.
But on the other hand, like you said, I really appreciated how privileged I am to have all of my immediate needs taken care of. I had enough to eat, actually too much to eat. I was comfortable at home. I have my piano and really had everything I needed. And I got a few weeks of really solid rest. And I just felt really, really lucky. And I think I've always been pretty good at spending time with myself. So even now, after 3 months of being at home, I don't really feel unhappy. Of course, I am concerned about the future of our world at large, but of course also how life will go, how work will resume for artists and performers. Mm-hmm. I assume there will be less for a while, less work for a while, but that's why this is so great, because this is a chance to, frame process your project, our project, because it's a chance to really do concentrated work in a set amount of time on something I really, really want to do anyway. Mm-hmm. To know that we will have a chance to show it at some point is also a very, very nice thing to look forward to.
Yeah. I see a lot of artists. It's surprisingly. Not surprisingly, but I wasn't prepared to how it functions as a deadline for so many artists. I mean, they actually in a month do so much, achieve so much in a month just by having a deadline, and they're just finishing quite a complex projects in this in this program. And it's really nice. I'm happy about that. Just it's also the money, I guess, but more of that, I think it's just having a deadline for. It's so important for an artist to have this, finish line to.
Deadline is another word for inspiration.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sometimes another word for motivation.
Yeah.
It is a very healthy thing to have.
Yeah.
Limits, having borders is actually very helpful.
Yeah. So yeah, we are happy to give this, now.
Yeah, and and really the live component that's going to come later, that is also very encouraging, because of course there's a whole slew of things that I could do online that I could
Yeah.
just put online and share digitally with the world. But it's really nice to know that we will also perform it live someday.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so thank you so much for the talk. It was a pleasure meeting you.
Nice meeting you too.
And I look forward to see what comes out of the progress.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you so much. So we'll speak in 2 weeks, and next week I'll talk to what's his name, the video guy?
Question. Lillevan.
Lillevan. Okay.
We both have their names.
He's also from South Korea, or?
Oh no.
No.
If you saw him, you would know that he's not South Korean.
Okay.
Irish.
Irish.
But his name is Swedish, so Swedish people often think that he's one of them.
Okay.
Irish, but he's been in Berlin for a very long time.
So there, I wanted to ask if he's also located here. Okay.
Yeah, he's basically a citizen of the Republic of Berlin.
Okay.
Even more than that.
So I look forward to meet him as well.
Great.
Thank you so much. We'll be in touch.
We will. Bye.
Ciao.